How are you doing?
I set up an account last week. Yeah, that's the exact feeling that I have.
Wait, hold on a second. Okay, Qwan said he's never bet before.
Never.
You see me almost hit that round robin, and now magically,
Hey.
Quan's like, I got an account.
Listen,
This guy goes 27-13, picking a side in every college football game.
some-
I need an account. Someone.
listen,
Look, hold on. How much are you going to bet per game?
that's the question.
Don't-
There's a
Damn.
max of a couple $100, so I'm not going that far.
Dude, your max needs to be like 25.
25.
Are you betting your stuff, though? Are you going to
Yeah.
actually make the plays? Are you going to mostly be NFL, you think?
There-
Because that's what you follow?
It's gonna be all NFL probably. There's
Okay.
if there are a few people that know, but this is my first time publicly stating it, that the Qwan Show is coming to Bets TV on Saturday, and I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. And
I was going to say, I actually respect that. If you're doing your own show, you need to have some coin down,
Yeah.
right? You have to represent and back up what you're betting, what you're saying. If you get crushed, it's okay. At least you were betting it. It's better than not betting it. I can get behind this now that I'm thinking it through a little bit. How often do you think, not often, excuse me, like what's your volume going to be like? Are you firing one or two plays on a Sunday? Do you think you're going to look at all the props for all the players, for all the games? Are you going to be betting like 10?
so
What's your expectation?
the hook for me is I used to do NFL pick'ems with my uncle when I was a kid.
Just who wins the game?
Who wins the game? So each week I'm gonna try to roll through a parlay of NFL pick'ems and see if I can hit one, and then I'll do some straight bets and some other things. It's mostly gonna be me fading the Lions, probably.
You're ready? You really
A
are?
roasted
Let's go.
peanuts
I got
guy.
a roasted peanuts.
The defense could use a little bit of improvement too.
You see this afro? We brought this afro out for a reason.
Is it the planners, man?
Oh, Lord help him.
I'll tell you something about public schools.
Now tomorrow we'll be talking about the Detroit Lions.
There were penises in my math book.
What's up, everybody? It's me, DeQuan Young, and welcome to the Qwan Show. What's up, everybody? It's me, DeQuan Young, and welcome to the Qwan Show. Now, first things first, I'd like to thank the people at Bets TV for doing the right thing and giving me this opportunity to host my own show, the Qwan Show, where I bring to you an advanced understanding of really the only thing I know, and that's the game of football. Now, as for you, I need you guys to help me with my betting. As somebody just getting into the industry, I've been partnered with Preston Johnson, and we've been hosting a daily show, Last Word Cheetah, on Bets TV, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, every day. And football season is starting, and I need some skin in the game. And I want to track my bets this season because I want to get better and actually win some money, because if you haven't heard, women are expensive. So to get started, I'm going to make my first bet. Okay, so I've sat at this desk the entire summer and listened to Preston talk betting and sports. So now, I'm going to dip my feet into the pool. My first bet is, wait a minute, for dramatic effect, my first bet is Matthew Stafford for MVP. Did you think it'd be anything else? Now, I got it at 16-1, and it's a winner. I know you guys haven't seen him play much, because who in their right mind will watch Detroit Lions games, right? So here's the skinny on Matthew Stafford. He's a gamer. Leaving Detroit is the ultimate accomplishment in sports, and it's no different for Matthew Stafford. Now, for the longest time, I would go on spells where I would call Stafford trash, but I always thought he was a good quarterback. Is he Aaron Rodgers? No, but he's close. Now, your other criticism of Matthew Stafford stems from his years with Megatron. With Johnson from 2009 to 2015, Stafford started 93 games, threw for 25,976 yards, 163 touchdowns, and 98 interceptions, which was good for a passer rating of 85.8. Now, in the 4 seasons without Megatron, he's gotten better. With a passer rating of 96, he's thrown for 19,133 yards, 119 touchdowns, and only 46 interceptions, all while playing for the Detroit Lions and having absolutely zero weapons, or at least ones that can stay on the field. When you watch Matthew Stafford play, you watch for one thing and one thing only: turnovers. Early in his career, he was a bad decision maker, but he's not a turnover machine. And finally, he's tough. He's played 16 games in 9 seasons, and he's consistent, and he will battle all intangibles you need for a great quarterback. Now, I wouldn't worry about his back injury, as last season, he played all 16 games under center for the Lions. But I do worry about his thumb and other hand injuries. In 2016, when he was the dark horse MVP, it was the one season Derek Carr was good, he tore a ligament in his middle finger, and it derailed his play towards the end of the season. Now, he didn't have the best numbers from a statistical standpoint, but he had 8 comeback victories and led the Lions to the playoffs. It was a Herculean effort. So, that's my pick for the 2021 MVP. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a stan. Okay, this summer I was going in blind, so now that I got a full preseason under my belt, let's talk NFL futures for all 32 teams. Now, a futures bet is when you place a bet on an event that will occur in the future. That's it. Pretty simple, right? We start in Houston. What a roller coaster offseason for the Texans, a team who look to be one of the powerhouses in the AFC for the foreseeable future. They've now turned into a franchise with one foot in the grave. And the mass exodus of key players like J.J. Watt and organizational figures have led people to believe this team's new cultural reset won't lead to much success. David Culley announced Tyrod Taylor as the starter, and we don't expect much from him. The Texans opened as 2.5-point underdogs to the Jags, who finished just 1-15 a year ago, becoming the first team to be an underdog to that year's number 1 overall pick since the 49ers in 2016 versus the Rams. This offseason, the Lions decided to retool, which is just a fancy way of saying rebuild with what we have. But what they had last year was absolute trash. After a 5-11 season where they fired Matt Patricia, the coach tasked with the previous retool, they finished 4th in the NFC North, a division they haven't won since 1991, and they just flat out stunk up the field every Sunday. This offseason, their number 1 overall draft pick and best quarterback in franchise history asked for a trade. It's not all bad though. The coach they hired has a great personality, and he makes a lot of jokes, which I'm sure will translate well on the field. Now, the Jets are another team in rebuild mode. Following an abysmal 2-14 season, which saw the exits of head coach Adam Gase and the number 3 overall pick in the 2018 draft in Sam Darnold, new coach Robert Saleh and the Jets selected Zach Wilson number 2 overall. The Jets' future is all about Zach Wilson. Now, talking Jacksonville, you're talking about another rebuild, and I don't know if anybody fields good teams anymore. In 2017, this team was inches away from the Super Bowl, and 4 seasons later, they're ushering in a brand new regime led by Urban Meyer. First-time NFL head coach Urban Meyer. Jacksonville selected Trevor Lawrence first overall. He'll be your week 1 starter with odds at 3-1 for him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. The Cincinnati Bengals are 1 year removed from the beginning of their rebuild, in which they drafted LSU quarterback Joe Burrow. In 10 games in 2020, Joe Burrow turned heads, completing 65% of his passes while also throwing for 13 touchdowns and over 2,500 yards. Then he suffered a season-ending torn ACL, so this offseason they did the logical thing and got Joe Burrow some protection. No, they didn't. They drafted Jamar Chase, reuniting him with his LSU quarterback Burrow. Now, Chase had a lot of issues in the preseason. That's why I'm looking at that under prop for 1,025 yards on the season. For the New York Giants, the only question on anybody's mind, in his 3rd year, can Daniel Jones make the leap? So this offseason, the Giants look to give Daniel Jones some much-needed help. They enlisted the services of Kenny Golladay, and when Golladay is on the field, he's a playmaker. But, and there's a big but here, Kenny Golladay is returning from a hip sprain. He's also had a nagging hamstring injury. Well, there's a player prop for some plus money on Golladay under 5.5 touchdowns on the year and under 1,050 yards on the season, a mark he's only surpassed once when he played 16 games. Saquon Barkley's return will be key for the Giants as they figure a way to get him back in the lineup and at MVP form. A once great philosopher said, no takebacks, which is hilarious as the rumor that John Gruden tried to trade back for Khalil Mack 3 years after sending him to Chicago. Now there's nothing to report on Las Vegas here. They live in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and a top 10 defense in Denver. And at this point, Derek Carr is who Derek Carr will be. And it's not good enough to compete within this division. Last season, the Panthers finished 24th in the NFL in total offense and 18th in passing offense. Now to rectify this, they took a chance on Sam Darnold, who'll be out to prove that Adam Gase was the problem, which won't be hard to do. He'll be joining Christian McCaffrey, who spent a good majority on the sidelines in 2020. He'll look to get back to form, and if he can, he's going to do numbers. Now, the Panthers won't win enough to put him in the running for anything other than Offensive Player of the Year. But if Darnold doesn't see ghosts again, it could be great for Carolina. Just like everybody else around the world, we want Fields. With poise and some great preseason throws under his belt, Matt Nagy is once again proving that head coaches in the NFL have no clue what they're doing. The Bears have weapons for Fields to use in Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and even tight end Cole Kmet. But we won't really know who this team will be until Fields is the starting quarterback. Now, I'm not sold on Pittsburgh as the Steelers ran into some actual competition after an 11-0 start last season. Two of the big questions: can they protect Ben Roethlisberger, and will they return to Steelers football with a solid defense and a solid running game? 8.5 wins seems exactly like the team these Pittsburgh Steelers are. The Broncos will be carried by their defensive unit, as they officially named Teddy Bridgewater the starter. Now, Teddy Bridgewater has weapons, and Teddy Bridgewater won't turn the ball over. And that's all the Broncos will need with that defense. A healthy Bradley Chubb and Von Miller with a young and energetic secondary will keep the Broncos alive in what could be considered the toughest division in football. Ryan Fitzpatrick 200-1 for MVP? No, sir. Not for me. Now, you guys know the cycle. Ryan Fitzpatrick looks capable and fools everybody. Then we lose all the Ryan Fitzmagic. This team will be carried by the defense. Chase Young, the reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year, has a year under his belt and will anchor a defense that ranked 4th in points and 2nd in yards. If Fitzmagic can be some type of consistent and protect the ball, look for Washington to win the NFC East. Famous Jameis Winston has won the starting job, and now the Saints will be able to pass the ball downfield for the first time in a very long time. And then we'll see if Jameis struggles early, but with a great defense in New Orleans, look for the Saints to fight for a wildcard spot. The Minnesota Vikings are a middle-of-the-road team, as they play 5 teams projected to win 10 or more games this season. Adversely, they also play 5 teams projected to win less than 7. You also have to expect that Kirk Cousins will miss a few games this season, unless the Vikings can find a way to put him in a bubble. This was a 10-6 Miami Dolphins team who narrowly missed out on the playoffs thanks to Ryan Fitzpatrick, who left for greener pastures in Washington. So that begs the question, do you believe in Tua? The Dolphins do, so much so that they went out and put some speedsters at receiver for him. Now, top 10 pass defense last year will feature Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, so look for them to remain consistent. This Colts defense almost carried Phillip Rivers to a playoff victory last season, so they went out and got themselves a quarterback in Carson Wentz, who looked like he needed a change of scenery. Now, that change of scenery saw him get injured in the preseason, get surgery, and return. So what Colts team will we see on a consistent basis? We won't know until the season begins. I smell a hot seat in Arizona this season. Now, the Cardinals made sure to get Kyler Murray a ton of weapons. Not only will he be lining up with DeAndre Hopkins for another year, AJ Green will line up along with Rondale Moore to try and give Kyler all the offense he can get. Can't forget the addition of James Conner as well. Now, the defense can be a top-tier unit if the pass rush can get some help from new addition J.J. Watt and the return of Chandler Jones. Boy, was I wrong about the quarterback situation in New England. Doesn't matter, though. The era of Mac Jones has begun, and with a great defense to boot. The return of Dante Hightower, along with the signing of Matthew Judon up front, means Bill Belichick is looking for a strong defensive effort to help as Matt comes along while the Patriots attempt to compete for a wild card spot and maybe even the top spot with Buffalo. Justin Herbert is back for his 2nd season and everybody is expecting big things. After moving on from Anthony Lynn, the Chargers brought in Brandon Staley, who turned the Rams into the best defense in the NFL. He'll now look to replicate that success with the other LA team. And one thing I can say, that a true fan of his team knows when they're trash, and Matthew Freeman was all about the Cowboys under, so I'm listening to him.
That defense is
bad.
When talking about the NFC West this season, everyone seems to forget it was the Seahawks who won this division last year. Russell Wilson is 20-1 at BetMGM right now for MVP, as he should be, due to his ability to mask those deficiencies on the Seahawks O-line. So I ask you, can a team that barely improved stay atop a division in which teams around them got better? Derrick Henry became the 8th 2,000-yard rusher in NFL history while leading the league in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns for a second straight season, and he still didn't win MVP. Expect a similar or better output with the addition of Julio Jones on the outside, making this offense even more dangerous. Cleveland was a few plays away last season, and that's due in large part to Baker having it figured out. And he did it without Odell Beckham, who looks to return from injury. If Kevin Stefanski can keep helping Baker figure it out, the Browns can roll to another AFC Championship game and possibly a Super Bowl. Nick Bosa is back, and the 49ers front seven is going to have to do some great things as the secondary, ranked 20th in the NFL by Pro Football Focus, is coming off of a bit of a retooling after losing Richard Sherman. On the offensive side of the ball, Jimmy G is on his way out the door, and it's almost time for the Trey area to take over. There's been one team that's been atop the NFC North for as long as I can remember, and they'll have another cakewalk to a division title, with Aaron Rodgers showcasing his talents for his next team, as this will undoubtedly be his last season in Green Bay, and I can only say good riddance. The Baltimore Ravens will have to overcome the loss of J.K. Dobbins to a knee injury in the preseason, and this offense is predictable and one-dimensional as hell. They ranked dead last in the NFL last season in the past. So once again, we'll see if it ain't broke, don't fix it will work again with this Greg Roman offense. Last season, the Rams fielded the #1 defense in the NFL, and with most of their quarterback, they look to field another great defensive team. It's easy when you're anchored by a potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Aaron Donald. And look, on the offensive side of the ball, I'm a man of my word, and I'm betting the Rams. This is the year Matthew Stafford wins his first playoff game on his way to an NFC Championship game at least. Now, all anybody can talk about is Josh Allen, and for good reason. After making the leap, Josh Allen is an MVP favorite. And what's not to love about him for MVP? The addition of Emmanuel Sanders to a receiver core with Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley, maybe, should prove well for Allen and the Bills. Buffalo has become the class of the AFC East, and look for them to compete in the AFC Championship game. The champs said run it back, and they really mean it, as they return all 22 starters on both offense and defense. In the Super Bowl, Todd Bowles did the unthinkable as he schemed up a game plan that held the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs to 9 points. What a feat. Now, after getting spanked in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are back with pretty much the same offense, except for a revamped O-line, the position that failed them in the Super Bowl. Should we expect the same old magic from Kansas City, or has the NFL finally figured these guys out? We'll get more detailed breakdowns from me and more during the season. But for now, let's get back to more of the Qwan Show. It's week 1 in the NFL, and I'm excited. Now here at the Qwan Show each week, I'm going to bet a money line parlay pick'em of the week slate of games. Now the goal is to get everything right, and obviously I will because I'm that damn good. So for week 1, let's get started. Cincinnati was one of the worst teams in the league last year, and while they get Joe Burrow back, it'll likely take time to settle back in as he only played in 3 snaps the whole preseason. He's likely to be under pressure all day as the Bengals' Swiss cheese offensive line deals with the Minnesota pass rush. The Bengals will have their hands full dealing with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook. The Lions traded away their best player and hired Dan Campbell as their head coach. Campbell spent his introductory press conference threatening to bite off kneecaps. The 49ers dealt with horrible injury luck a year ago and weren't really as bad as their record suggested. Look for the Niners to win big over a very terrible Lions team. The Packers are starting 2 rookie offensive linemen, which isn't ideal, as they face the Saints pass rush that PFF graded as the league's 7th best a year ago. They also struggled defending running backs catching passes out the backfield. Wink, wink, Alvin Kamara. The Buffalo Bills have become one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL, led by quarterback Josh Allen, who's a favorite to win MVP. Now look for him to start his campaign against a good Steelers pass defense. Now, Pittsburgh, on the other hand, started last season 11-0 and proceeded to lose 5 of their last 6 games while facing an early exit in the wildcard round to the Browns. Now, Big Ben is running out of time as his decline draws nearer and nearer. I'm taking the Bills at home. The Jets shipped off their former first-round pick, Sam Darnold, to Carolina after firing Adam Gase and bringing in Robert Saleh. Now, New York did their best to surround Zach Wilson with weapons that Darnold never had. This game, they'll be without Jamison Crowder due to COVID-19. This game also has a narrative, and I'm going with that. Sam Darnold revenge game. Tennessee ranked 4th in the NFL in scoring in 2020, and they added Julio Jones to an offense that features A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, the reigning offensive player of the year. Last year, Arizona struggled defending the run. And did I mention Derrick Henry? Adversely, the Titans were worse in defending the run. This is probably going to be a shootout, and I give the edge to Tennessee. Do you believe in magic? Fitzmagic, that is. Well, I don't. The Ryan Fitzpatrick move will give the football team a level of consistency, but it's not an impactful move. The Chargers are starting with a new offense and defense with their firing of Anthony Lynn and hiring of Brandon Staley. They too have a new look offensive line, and they face a strong football team pass rush. But I'm not worried. The return of Derwin James and Joey Bosa should give the Chargers a lift in the nation's capital. The Falcons were 1 to 2 to 5 bounces away from having a different season in 2020. So last year, after an 0-5 start, they fired Dan Quinn. New head coach Arthur Smith looks to light up the scoreboard after spending the last decade with the Titans, as he resurrected the career of Ryan Tannehill and helped mold Derrick Henry into the most productive back in the NFL. Will somebody please tell Pete Carroll to let Russ cook? That's what'll need to happen if the Seahawks plan on moving the ball against this stingy Colts rushing defense, who was 2nd in the league last year in rushing yards allowed. Now, I don't know which Carson Wentz will show up, so I'm going Seahawks. Great AFC divisional game leads us to a rematch in the opening week. And the last time we saw the Chiefs play a football game, Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. So they built him a new offensive line in the offseason, which is great, but will the chemistry be there? Now, the Browns bolster a great backfield with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and also the return of Odell Beckham. And can he mesh with this Browns offense, who made major strides last season while he was injured? On another note, since the return of the Browns to Cleveland, they've won one Week 1 game. The last victory, 2004 against the Baltimore Ravens. Well, this year, that changes. I'm going Cleveland with the upset. Bill Belichick has his quarterback, and he has a long list of players returning from opting out last year due to COVID. I think he'll put Mac Jones in spots to make smart decisions and smart throws, as the Dolphins have a top 10 pass defense. Now, on the other side, I still don't know if Tua has it. Patriots win. The Texans opened as 2.5-point underdogs to the Jags, who finished just 1-15 a year ago, becoming the first team to be an underdog to that year's #1 overall pick since the 49ers in 2016. Now, this game is a toss-up to me, but the Jaguars struggled mightily in 2 preseason games, and one they really tried hard to show something in. Houston wins. The Giants have a lot of issues, from a bad offensive line to injuries to questions on defense, in the secondary specifically, which should bode well for Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos offense. If this Broncos defense can bottle up Saquon Barkley, who's returning from injury, it'll be a long day for the New York Football Giants. Broncos win. The Rams had one major weakness a year ago, and they addressed it in a big way, acquiring quarterback Matthew Stafford from Detroit. And they still got the best defensive player in the league in Aaron Donald, one of the top DBs in Jalen Ramsey, and one of the league's best head coaches in Sean McVay. They're a serious Super Bowl contender. The Bears are rolling with Andy Dalton. Now, Dalton isn't the quarterback he used to be, but he's still serviceable. I'm concerned about the O-line issues for Chicago and the immobility of Dalton. Now, if only Chicago had a quarterback who could move in the pocket and escape pressure. Rams win in this Sunday night football matchup. Now, the Ravens are one-dimensional as hell, but they do it oh so well. And the Raiders rank near the bottom third of the league against the run. Now, I know Baltimore is thin in the backfield, but Lamar Jackson is still Lamar Jackson. Ravens win. That's it for the first episode of the Qwan Show here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and here's some advice. The only way to gamble responsibly is to win. I'll see you Sunday for another episode of the Qwan Show.